It is 4:30. Call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Miss Allen?
Here.
Mrs. Lamacchia?
Here.
Mr. Hendon?
Here.
Mr. Moran?
Here.
Ms. Clements?
Yes, here.
All right, first item is resolution.
Oh, I think we can
We're
start
gonna
with-
wait.
Yeah, we'll
for
do that at the
David's
end of my report.
presentation. That's very good.
Okay, we got, okay.
Okay, you're on.
Just look at it. You guys want to see this? But it's, you've done it printed out, so you're accepting.
So again, I'm David Schnee, Principal of Group 4 Architecture Research and Planning, and my esteemed colleague, Dave Darrenhall, Principal with Champlin Architecture, who you know so well. And so this is, I think, my fifth or sixth opportunity to be before the board, and it is a real privilege here to be in the sort of penultimate presentation before we bring to you in December the final presentation. So we have a whole bunch of material in draft form. And here's our work plan that we've been working on since February, at October stage. We are now in task 6 of implementation planning, having taken facility options and turned those into draft recommendations. And that will be the main focus of what we're doing here today. So what is the recommendations process? How did we come up with this information here? And so first of all, it was identifying the available funding over time, the range from low to high, to translate that into today's dollars. And then we worked to identify priority projects that fit within that funding, and that is the focus of today's presentation. We will be continuing, that arrow was midway in this implementation planning task. Over the next weeks and to month, we'll be working out the sequencing of the projects for build out, and that will be a future topic, and we'll come back to you. And at that point, we'll be determining how best to roll out those projects. So available capital budget. So working with your esteemed leadership team here, issue 3 provides $19 million a year overall for a 10-year process period of time. And of course, a portion of that is required for basic operations. One of your key principles was sustainable operations. So we have to make sure appropriate funds are reserved for that, and a portion is reserved for ongoing capital maintenance that we have presented previously, that you have a sizable backlog of that. But that leaves a good amount of money on average over the 10-year period of 11 to 14 million a year. So of course, the money will flow over time, and as you're familiar with business terms and real estate and the rest, net present value of your investment. So the money that comes over time, what is it worth today? And you have to look at escalation over time. And so that translates to 94 to 120 million if the funds were to come over time. We are still working with your team to see, can the share of the overall money be more front-end loaded in the earlier years, reduce some of that escalation. So there may be a little bit more buying power that comes out of that. So in our cost models, Susan Kent, former librarian from New York, Minneapolis, and Los Angeles, talked about being accused by the library of being one of the most fiscally responsible library directors in the country. And why was that? Because they went through 2 bond programs and were able to deliver a tremendous number of projects, might have even been 60, and had enough funds left over to do 1 or 2 more. And so we want to, and I said, how did you do that? She said, realistic, not optimistic, but realistic budgeting for it. And Jay's going to talk about the method of that here. And so we want to be realistic. We have to be good stewards of the public funds and trust. We want to keep up. Make sure we budget for appropriate quality and that we're comprehensive in the planning. And we want to plan on success. We like to say we want to deliver on our promises, exceed expectations, and have some contingencies in there for planning for the unexpected. And so if you could talk about next few, Jay.
So the data that we're working from to develop the cost estimates are, number one, the historical data we have from previous projects we've done recently. We completed 2 library branches fairly recently, 2014, Reading and St. Bernard. So that gives us a good understanding of what the local construction is, and we escalate those dollars, that gives us a certain picture of where the construction industry is right now. We also have our experience with other projects in the region that informs the numbers, as well as having Brown Construction also is a local estimating firm, engineering firm, and they have a lot of experience. But we also can draw on the work that Group 4 has done in Dayton with the projects that were done there. And so combining those sorts of touchstones, those sorts of projects, we've come up with some ideas about what the cost might be for the different categories of construction. And we've outlined 4 different categories of renovation. So there's the lowest cost being the facelift or the makeover, and then the green indicates a smaller renovation, possibly a small addition. And then the purple is a larger addition or larger renovation, and then the purple, the magenta, suggests a tear down of the building on site or a new site, a new building. We want to talk a little bit about our definition of what the costs are. So there are hard costs, construction costs, and those are typically made up of the things that you see here. And when we talk about building construction costs, this is usually what people think of. The obvious things, you know, what's the labor and materials that goes into the building. So all of these things make up that hard cost. Furniture, technology, signage, these are some of the other pieces that go into it. But there's also another side to the cost story, and that is the soft costs. Things like that are mentioned here, fees, community engagement, sustainable design, construction management, permits. These are things that you wouldn't normally think of or see, but these also add to the cost of the building. So we've come up with what we think are some conservative, safe sort of cost ranges, and you can see the different renovation levels, 1 through 4. And then at the top, we have what we anticipate the construction cost to be for each one of those. And then at the bottom, there's a factor that we apply to that to get to the project cost. So you can see it ranges from level 1 being $223 a square foot, all the way up to the level 4, which is the new building, the tear down and rebuild, or a brand new building on a new site at $773 a square foot. So, as David said, we want to be good stewards, but we also want to be cautious. I think we want to, under-promise and over-deliver, as we've been saying. So we feel like that these are good target numbers and should give us some safety as we move forward.
Are those today's dollars?
That's a good point. Yes, these are in today's dollars.
Thank you, Jay. So part of our mandate from the board was to not just look at how to spend issue $3, but to look at the overall needs for it. And so we looked at a 20-year time frame. And as you know, you have over 1 million square feet that you're responsible for. The effective age of these buildings since they were built or since their last significant renovation on average is over 40 years. And so you have to look at this as a major ongoing effort. Like this isn't issue 3 will not have you sitting pretty for generations to come. This will have to be something that will look to the future to meet all of the needs. And so we, as part of this process for 20 years, looked at what the overall needs are for the entire system. Part of that was looking at the different options per the categories that Jay was describing, and from those we developed recommendations. As part of the your trustees' principles for it was to look about in terms of equity and how fairness across the full geography of the county, and where you see the pluses are areas where there's less square footage per capita. And so we're seeing that you have 1 million square feet overall. 500,000 of that is in the main library. More than half of that is in closed stacks. And so that benefits people who are closer to it. And so in the western parts of the county, those resources provide a little bit less benefit. And so we're looking for certain locations to build capacity. We also looked and presented last time to you options for the main library. The main library is a treasure. Not everyone still feels it is such a treasure, and with some more love and attention, it can be restored to its treasure aspect. So part of and for public record, again, board actions last year was to reaffirm that the north building remains part of the library, and your direction was to consider the repurposing of the building. So that is the idea of what we'd call makeovers for that. We also look at ways of improving wayfinding. People find getting around the building to be quite challenging. Part of that has to do with also the vertical wayfinding. There are 2 sets of elevators in the south building, but how exactly to get up there and through the ramp and the stairs was not necessarily that great. So looking to improve stairs and elevators, we looked at possibly capturing some space for the public or for partners on atrium, around the atrium. And we looked at shelving needs as well. Those were interior opportunities. We looked at exterior opportunities. We talked about the Vine Street last time. We said is really for running the gauntlet. It was really the challenges that customers and the staff feel interacting going through the Vine Street entry are unfortunately a design problem. It's not a community problem, it's not a library problem, it's design where you're having to run through this narrow area where there's too many inviting places to sit. It's just compare the same people using the same Walnut Street entry. It doesn't have the same design problem multiple ways. You're not running a gauntlet there. So the concepts of changing the stack level B, which creates the elevated area behind the fountain, lowering that down. It's presently closed, so you'd have no net reduction in space of a closed stack area because it's already due to former leaks and needing attention. We looked at opportunities for repurposing the exterior, giving it the makeover, and we hear from so many people having more parking would be great, and similar to if you've seen the new Kroger's that's opened up for the Walnut development just a block and a half away, that Walnut Street side of your building could be ripe for that type of public-private partnership. So we're not looking to dedicate any issue 3 funds for that yet, but just these were the opportunities we had identified as part of the 20-year need. So and a little bit of a revision to our sort of sharpening the pencils, just long-term, how big are those 20-year needs? We estimate them to be between 250 to 300 million for all the things you've seen. That would take probably much more than what we have right now. And so to think about this issue 3 as being the first major contribution towards meeting that need. So that gets us to the building the next generation library effort and what our draft recommendations for that. So very excited here to say that library improvements are coming all across Cincinnati and Hamilton County. And over the next 10 years, you're going to have over 1/3 of all the libraries will undergo a major improvement project. Many more will undergo critical repairs, and all other libraries will receive strategic investments. And so those are funds to do something special that will impact day-to-day use in the library that might be able to happen really quick. This is a draft. These changes will, these recommendations will likely change. We want people to check the website frequently for it. So the strategic investments could be something like a laptop kiosk. It could be a piece of new comfortable furniture. It could be interactive, manipulative learning opportunities for children. There are a lot of different things they could be. And the process is something that is for the allocations for those are something beyond the specific scope of the master plan, but that library staff would work on to implement. And so that adds this last category. So the 5th category is gold for our maps. We have all of these different types of resources. And how we're getting into the big reveal shortly, the draft of the 10-year recommendations. And so the criteria are, how do we improve equitable access? We have the Americans with Disability Act, the ADA, physical access to the buildings. We want to be mindful of geographic distribution and also consider areas of greater economic need. of course, the age and condition of the facilities. And we're also looking, this isn't just a repair and fix problems and roof leaks. Those are major portions of this and taking a big chunk of the money. But this is the stepping stone, promoting, one of the principles you said was continuing your excellence. You're a 5-star library 6 years in a row. We want to keep that going, and just keeping the roofs from leaking and making it all accessible is a prerequisite, but isn't going to keep you in the future. So looking for those opportunities to have your 21st century services that you're providing, your buildings to support that better. Also, as a prerequisite, to make sure that with those allocations of the issue 3 funds for operations as well, a portion of that is to make sure that you can maximize the service delivery. Having great buildings that are not accessible and open doesn't provide any benefit. So we also want to just point out that we looked at to see if there were, and early in our planning work, following on certain, the model of Dayton and certain other communities we've been in, where maybe some of the smaller branches were ripe candidates for consolidations, and that's been done willingly and happily in certain communities. We realize that you've already sort of customized your service offerings in them and finding ways to provide service for them. We have a nickname for them called SLAMs, small, lean, and mean. I don't know that that's what we'll use in our final report, but the idea that you can really create impactful opportunities, and through our interaction with the community listening sessions and with branch managers, we've realized that there's real purposes and value to those. So there are no consolidations proposed at the in these recommendations. So as we go forward, and this is now being streamed and people have access to it, we're still in draft form, but even when we finish the report in December, plan is a framework. It's going to be a map. Someone used the map metaphor today, but even if you use Waze or other things, there might be a traffic jam, you have to find a detour. There might be different opportunities or things that happen. So we put a little bit of disclaimer on any we have here, so it's not the Constitution. The principles that you set in the general framework is the Constitution, and what's about to show in the next slides are the recommendations. So we worked and had the staff advisory team of 40 plus diverse stakeholders. We have community members of the Community Advisory Committee from your community partners and supporters and government and other folks, lots of staff. We all tried different analyses and methods of the recommendations, and here's the first reveal of what we're recommending. So here we have it. We're recommending 15 significant projects, 15 major branch projects. These are the reds, purples, blues here, and greens. Then there'll be 25 branch investments. These are a fraction of the overall cost, but can be very impactful. We've talked about those before. And 3 projects at the main. So the Vine Street Plaza, approximately 100,000 square feet of makeover, and the stairs or elevator in some combination, making investments there. And of the total in 2020 dollars of getting up to this 118, approximately 27 million was for Maine of this, so about a quarter of this. I'm sorry, I don't have all the numbers committed here. But what's really important is to look at what we're able to accomplish with this first phase. One, you see projects happening, one, everywhere at some scale, and major projects happening geographically dispersed. We're able to hit significant areas where the greatest levels of concentrations of poverty are. We're going into the most neediest areas and making great inroads with that, and addressing the most significant ADA process, so making really great improvements there. The list of projects, we can do this by alphabetically by zones, is a resource that has been shared with you. At this point, it's the summary data was more significant, showing here where the average poverty rate in Hamilton County is 17%. So anything that's pink, tan, pink or a darker color is the areas of higher poverty, and so we've been able to hit a majority of these areas for this, and looking at when the same recommendations of the major projects highlighted by zone. So that is the summary of all of these options. We have been doing this work around the country with, we've been thrilled to be working elsewhere in Ohio. We found your library system to be needing all of our strengths and resources combined of all, and all of the wisdom and input from the hundreds of people. We've had over 90 meetings to get to this point here, and as we were having at the staff advisory team today, responses that this project is reflecting all of the input that we've been getting, starting with you at the board. And so that concludes our draft presentation. We look forward to coming back to you in December with an actual completed plan for your approval.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
All right, next is,
Any questions for?
Yeah.
is there any questions? Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any question. I just got a comment. I think you've done everything we asked you to do. Everything you told us you were going to do and everything we asked you to do, and I think you did a great job.
Great. Thank you.
Ditto.
Yes.
Agreed.
Great.
Any other questions or comments? All right, we'll move to the resolution.
Do you want to do that at the end of my report?
We'll do that at the end,
Yeah, that's
yes.
good. Okay.
All right, we'll go on to the Eva Jane Romaine Coon Director's Report. Paula Brown
All right.
Hager.
Thank you, Mr. Hendon. We just heard from David Schnee, which is the first thing there. Thanks again, David. We had a bunch of good meetings. Appreciate that, and we'll see you again in December. Next, I just want to mention that I'll be heading to the Urban Library Council meeting. It's the forum that will take place in Salt Lake City. Going with me will be Brett Bonfield, our Chief Operating Officer, and also Libby Scott, our Internal Communications Coordinator. The focus is going to be on preparing to lead on AI, which is artificial intelligence, and digital citizenship, so it should be an interesting conference. I also want to note that they will be announcing formally the 2019 innovation winners and honorees. So we have won 2 of these in the past. I'm hopeful that we may be named again. I'll keep you posted just as soon as we find out officially. Also wanted to mention that we had the Ohio Library Council Annual Convention and Expo and Reception at the Duke Energy Center just a couple of weeks ago. The end of September, we had 600 library staff from across Ohio attend, and I do want to note about 500 of them stopped by the main library, which is twice the number that came last time we had it in 2015. So much so that Stacy Dennison, who, thank you to the Friends and the Foundation for their support of that, she ran up to me at about an hour in and said, "Oh my God, Paula, I got to order more pizza." So we had a great time. Kathy Bach, who is in the audience here, did a fantastic job chairing local arrangements. And then we had so many staff who presented and did a wonderful representation of our library there. There's a really long list. I won't go through all of them, but we posted this to our internal information, and I had the good fortune of listening to many of them. And just as a note there, Kim also presented. She did a 15-minute talk as well, so we had start to finish a lot of good things going on. Blink Cincinnati, I don't know if you're all aware, but Blink is happening this weekend. We will participate. It is, of course, one of the largest light, art, and projection mapping events in the nation. We're going to have a float in the parade, which is a new thing for us, very exciting. And we're also going to host 3 6-foot-tall inflatable glow globs on the Walnut Street side of Main Library. So I'm not, they didn't want to tell me too much more. They called them organic inflatables. So if you're going to be at Blink, make sure you stop by. We are also staying open a little bit late in the South Building on the first floor. Normally we close at 6 p.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but we are going to remain open until 10 in the South Building.
Is your parking lot going to be accessible?
We will, and we have actually had our staff who are working late. We're coordinating the parking, so we believe it will.
So we could get in there.
There's some
and get down
streets closed down though.
We are planning to have people in there by 5, so we believe that we'll beat it. But that's a good point. We'll make sure. Yeah, we're trying to get everybody in there early, and then they're on their own to actually get through the streets when they leave. Okay. Did want to note that we have 2 positions that have been created. We are currently recruiting for a data analyst. That position will support aligning the significant amount of statistics and data that we've been collecting in order to drive strategic decisions. Additionally, a social worker position will be posted in the next several weeks. This position has been created to assist and provide resources to the folks that we serve facing challenges so that we can give them the best service available. It's also worth noting both positions have been created by repurposing existing staff resources.
Is this for staff librarians, the social workers?
It's for, like when we did those pop-ups in the atrium where we had people come in and connect with social services.
To coordinate that?
Yes, it's to help coordinate that and really work on the variety of things that are going on.
That's a
It will
great
be focused at Maine, but we may also have some assistance needed at some of our branches as well.
That's a
Okay.
great idea.
Yeah. Noted that I have been accepted into Leadership Cincinnati. I started that on the 4th of September, and it's already been a great experience. It's everyone may be aware of that. It's a selective year-long program. It's the region's flagship community leadership development program, and it's designed for leaders passionate about making a difference in the Cincinnati community, and I certainly am excited to be part of that. And the final note here in my report, I'm going to read it and then turn it over to Mr. Hendon to do a resolution. I think many of you may know that this is Mr. Moran's final meeting. After many years of distinguished service, this is his last board meeting. I'm saying last board meeting as a trustee. So. He was first appointed to the board May 15th, 1996 by the Board of County Commissioners of Hamilton County. He served as the president of the board in 2000, 2006, 2011, 13, and 18, as vice president in 1999, 2005, 2009, 2010, and secretary in 2004 and 2017. So in addition to serving on the library's board, he chaired the library's successful 2009 and 2013 levy campaigns and co-chaired the successful 2018 levy campaign that launched our Building the Next Generation Library initiative. A retired senior vice president at Fifth Third, during his more than 2 decades of dedicated, passionate leadership on the board, Mr. Moran initiated and supported change, improvement, and innovation that have had far-reaching and lasting impact on our library community, and his legacy really will be felt by hundreds of thousands of community members for years to come. We thank him for his service.
Thank you.
Mr. Hendon, if you'd like to give us our resolution, that would be great.
There are going to be some big shoes to fill, that's for sure.
That's great.
Whereas William J. Moran was first appointed to the board of May 15, 1996 by the Board of County Commissioners of Hamilton County to fill an unexpired term. And whereas William J. Moran served for more than 20 years as a valued member of the Board of Library Trustees, including as president of the board in 2000, 2006, 2011, 2013, and 2018, as vice president in 1999, 2005, 2009, 2010, and whereas Mr. Moran chaired the first library levy campaign in 2009, which passed with the support of 73% of voters, and the successful 2013 library levy renewal campaign, which passed with the support of 80% of voters, and the successful 2018 library levy campaign, which passed with support of over 60% of the voters, and whereas while he served on the board, the library received national recognition, including the National Medal of Museum and Library Services for 2013, and consecutive 5-star ratings from Library Journal in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. And whereas while he served on the board, library use reached record levels, resulting in the library being the second busiest in the United States in 2016. And whereas Mr. Moran received the Ohio Library Council's Trustee Award of Achievement in 2011 for his vision, strong leadership, and willingness to take on extreme service challenges in support of ML 21A Main Library for the 21st century, resulting in the library saving $1 million a year in operating costs and enjoying an increase in usage statistics for the main library. And whereas Mr. Moran was instrumental in securing the donation of the historic Clifton home of George Barnsdale Boss Cox, built in 1895, for a new Clifton Library branch, which opened in May 28, 2015. And whereas Mr. Moran supported the building or renovation of library branches in nearly a dozen Hamilton County communities, including Bond Hill, Avondale, Pleasant Ridge, Clifton, St. Bernard, Reading, Loveland, Green Hills, and Price Hill, creating accessible spaces and upholding the library's mission of connecting people with the world of ideas and information. And whereas throughout his tenure, William J. Moran expressed support and commitment for the library's vision to excel in customer service, to be first choice for information, to accept, anticipate, and meet the challenging needs of the community, assure equitable access to the library's resources and services, and to be a dynamic force in the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved in recognition of years of devoted service, the members of the Board of Trustees thank and commend William J. Moran for his dedicated service to the Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread upon the minutes of the Board of Trustees of the Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County. Signed, Robert G. Hendon, President.
Great.
Congratulations.
We did all this?
I know.
We need a motion and a second and a roll.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moran.
You know, just a couple words. If you read my bio, which is on the library website, you'll note that I was on a lot of not-for-profit boards, and this by far has been the most rewarding board I've ever served on. So I'll miss the trustees, I'll miss the senior staff, I'll miss the staff working with them. But
We have a short video. We can show it now or at the end of the meeting. I leave it to the chair to determine.
Let's wait till the end of the meeting.
Okay, fair enough, sir. So
All
we'll
right.
come back to you, Ms. Moran, and
Okay.
offer many more thank
We're
yous.
not done with you yet.
Yeah, not yet.
All right, we'll move on to the report from the Operations Committee, and that would be Karen Clemens.
Youth Services Senior Library Services Assistant Renee Roberson Teco. Teco, okay, I'm sorry. Renee Robertson Teco is a Senior Library Services Assistant in the Youth Services Department at the main library and the 2019 recipient of the Baker and Taylor sponsored Black Caucus of the American Library Support Staff Award, a national honor. Renee joined the library in 1986 as a student assistant at the Northern Hills branch, now the College Hill branch. Renee left in 1987 and rejoined the library in 1994 as a shelving assistant in the history department at the main library, and later that year was promoted to part-time library assistant in the history department. Renee accepted a new assignment in 1996 as a library assistant in the science and technology department. In 2007, Renee was promoted to the position of Library Services Assistant 2 in the Teen Center. Renee continues to serve our teens and youth today as a Senior Library Services Assistant in Youth Services. Black Caucus of the American Library Support Staff Award.
Come on up, Renee. Yeah.
My first memory of the library is when I was 4. We lived in Winton Terrace, and the bookmobile came to our community. I remember standing impatiently outside the vehicle with my brother as we waited to go in. It seemed big, and I was nervous. I was sad to learn I was too young to check out books. My brother, who was 4 years older, checked out a few books for us. For me, he chose Frog and Toad Are Friends. I read it multiple times, and I was surprised to learn by the end of the summer I had to give the books back. We didn't have many books in the house, and the few golden books I owned I read until the covers fell off and the pages were torn. When I was in 3rd grade, I discovered a stack of unread, dusty books in the class coat room. We never used them in class, and although they were not on my reading level, I still wanted them. So I began to sneak a book into my backpack over the course of a quarter. I was literally a book thief. When we moved to College Hill, I was ecstatic to learn there was a public library. I thought we had truly moved up. I was there nearly every day after school looking for books. My little sister and I went there in the summers and signed up for summer reading. We walked there on Saturday afternoons, and we got to know the children's librarian, the late Beanne Bobbitt. When I was 16, I was hired as a student assistant and kept the position until I left for college. Returning to the library system in my early 20s, I have worked in several different departments at the main library, and we have gone through multiple changes, from one building to two, the influx of computers, the migration of information from card catalog to online, the creation of several new departments, and myriad other modifications. But for me, the most important change has not been how our system has reconfigured itself, but how we are changing to reach out to diverse populations that are now Cincinnatians. As we think about where we are going in this next decade, I am excited about Paula's vision of a new library. Of all my years that I have worked in the library, this is the most exciting time to be here because we can now see how we can create a library without walls. In June, I attended my first ALA conference where I received the Baker Taylor Award for Library Support Staff. This means a lot to me, not because of the national recognition, but because I was nominated by a coworker. It's always great to be recognized among your peers as someone who deserves to be acknowledged, especially when one works with a strong core of people as I have for the last 25 years. I have been blessed to work with and among a wonderful assortment of people, teens included, and I hope that I represent the institution that I love well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions?
Just a congratulations.
Can I go ahead and say that I had the honor of hiring Renee in Teen Spot? Renee and I were the only employees in Teen Spot for about 4 months. Yeah. Yeah, just go on down to the library partners. Yeah. Yeah.
Library partners with Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing Authority to offer housing waitlist application assistance. From September 9th through 12th, the Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing Authority opened its waitlist for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. The program helps low to moderate income families as well as the seniors and residents with qualifying disabilities afford safe and suitable housing in the private housing market. CHMA customers were invited to come to the library to sign up online for the waitlist and receive assistance for navigators trained in the application process. Over the course of the 4-day application period, 312 customers were assisted at 17 library locations across the system. In addition, numerous library customers at these and other locations throughout the system used the library's computers or Wi-Fi to register for the wait list without additional assistance. Third year of Citizenship Green Card application assistance begins. The library will soon begin its third year of partnering with Refugees Connect and the Immigrant and Refugee Law Center in hosting application assistance for those seeking U.S. citizenship and/or green cards. The first of this year's events will be hosted at the Groesbeck branch on Saturday, November 2nd. Last year's event resulted in 15 naturalization ceremonies and 3 green card approvals.
Thank you for your report. Next is the strategy committee, Mrs. Lamacchia.
Okay. Design Impact, the not-for-profit group, did 15 groups as part of the facility master plan. They completed their work and they've submitted it to a final report to the library. And the goal of the focus groups was to get to the different segments of the community that weren't involved in the community listening sessions that we had at every library. And on October 10th, which is Thursday, the branch managers will meet with representatives from Design Impact to review the final report and discuss the opportunities for better service. And the report will be also posted on the Next Generation Library website, so it could be shared with all the staff. The Strategy Division is currently organizing all the feedback via the surveys, the community listening sessions, and the focus groups so that they can put into one document to be shared with the staff and the public. And although although it focuses on the facilities, there's a significant amount related to services. And once that's completed, the staff will have the opportunities to discuss it and review it. The library, along with a dozen other community groups, partnered with the Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing Authority on a pilot program to provide on-site services at Finletter Gardens and Winton Terrace. And at their request, the library offered homework help and after-school snacks for teenagers in August and September. And this has caught the attention of HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and now CMHA is applying to be a part of a special HUD initiative. That speaks well for everything. And all year long, we've had these pop-ups for each month for different ones. The September pop-up focused on social services, and more than 200 people were helped by the services provided by a whole list of community organizations. One of them is to replace your Social Security card. And anybody who hasn't gotten their new license with the little star for the airport, better get your Social Security card, because it's one of the things they ask for. And October's pop-up theme is Life Hacks, Learn Life Hacks, Tips and Surprising Secrets to Make Your Life Easier and More Productive. And that's to share tips on a variety of things. And the most important tip is getting the most from your library card. The upcoming programs and exhibits are the Hallow Read Party at the main library on October 19th from 11 to 2 p.m. The National Chemistry Week, Marvelous Medals. It's a free community event at a variety of library locations to celebrate National Chemistry Week, October 20th to 26th. The 65th Annual Veterans Day will be on Monday, November the 11th at 10:45. This year it will be a veteran, Robert Hamilton, who has served as a Marine. He was sent to Vietnam in 1970 and shot down. And he now lives in Cincinnati, a retired surgeon and a flight instructor, but he also had volunteered during Operation Desert Storm in the 90s. Last, Unbound Writing and Art from Cincinnati's Returning Citizens is a collection of art, writing, and stories from individuals who have returned from our communities. It's in partnership with Hamilton County Reentry and Volunteers of America, and it's to personalize the experiences of the citizens who've experienced incarceration and how they have managed to make life afterwards.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Thank you. Now we'll have the Technology Committee report by Karen Clemens.
Distribution Center. The early project of building the next generation library has been completed. The new distribution center opened on September 4th and was celebrated with the ribbon cutting ceremony on September 12th. The highlight of the facility is the 65-bin RFID sorter that provides tote check-in services to all the branches to save staff the time of hand checking each individual item in each delivery, and smart distribution that sends items without customer holds to branches that need the various categories, formats of items in order to improve browsing. Additionally, it is twice as fast as the current sorter at the main library and will make delivery of holds to our customers even faster. Collection HQ pilot. The Material Selections and Acquisition Department, along with several branches, is piloting Collections HQ. Collection HQ is a suite of tools that synthesizes data from circulation, holdings, and the book industry to help shape our collections by anticipating and responding to customer demand.
All right, now the Development Committee.
Right, before you do that, the distribution center, I think, local news shows here, have these morning shows, they're always looking for content. I would think that'd be something they'd be interested in showing their audiences.
That's a great suggestion. We actually have a public open house coming up on the 24th of October, so we'll put it back out again and invite them to come to that as well. It's kind of an all-day stop-in, and I know how much many of you enjoyed operating the sorter, so perhaps we could get... Yeah, I know. Nadine's been over there a couple times since we've opened, so I can't keep her off the sorter. So I think that people would really... I think that's a good suggestion. Maybe we could get them to stop in and take a look at it.
I still want to ride on it.
You think you are a 5-year-old?
All right. Now we'll move on to Development Committee. Nadine Allen.
The Library Foundation. The following donors have made significant contributions to support the foundation since August: Harold C. Schott Foundation, Gilman Family Fund, and Greater Cincinnati Foundation, and the Stern Family Fund of the Greater Cincinnati Foundation, which sponsored the marvelous speaker and lecturer Brian Stevenson to a packed house at the Aeronaut. Were you going to mention that? Okay, I'll mention it. Right. Taking it from me, I'll leave it with you. You were going to mention that. We sold out the Aeronaut, which holds umpteen thousand people.
25.
And it was a sellout, so we're
yeah.
proud of that.
Yeah.
To honor to receive that fund because of our
Yeah, there were
outstanding-
people who were concerned, who couldn't get tickets,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I don't know what you do about next time we have a speaker, but
I know.
I heard
Oh, yes.
from other people who really weren't happy that they didn't get it.
It was a hot item, I know, yes. We'll build that atrium, or that auditorium on the Walnut Street side,
may
yeah,
have to.
per Mr. Schnatt, yes.
So planning is underway for the fall appeal, and additional grant funding requests have been submitted and are under review. Friends of the Public Library hosted their fall book sale at the warehouse on October 3rd to the 6th. Anderson Township Library Association is planning their November used book sale. This sale will take place at the Anderson Branch Library on November 7th through the 9th.
All right, next we'll move on to Human Resources Committee.
We got it.
And
That
then,
would be Nadine Allen
Chair
again.
for that. The core group benefits. I think we're kind of got a full house because everyone's maybe interested in knowing about this subject. The Human Resources Team and Benefits Broker Strategic Benefits conducted medical carrier reviews of the most competitive major carriers. Each of the carriers submitted quotes and plans which were reviewed. Our decision is to remain with Anthem for our medical plans for 2020 as the rates were the lowest at a 5% increase for our current HSA and PPO plans. And I'll ask Kyla Harden, who's here, what HSA and PPO mean.
Health savings account. And
Health savings account.
preferred provider.
Preferred provider.
Organization.
Yeah.
What's the O?
I think it's organization.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes.
Based on staff feedback and input from our benefits committee, one of the goals this year was to provide our staff with the option of a lower premium plan. We received an additional PPO plan design from Anthem that will achieve this goal. This plan will offer a lower per paid premium cost with a higher deductible to our employees. We are recommending that the premium cost share remain the same, employees 16% and employer 84% for both the current HSA and PPO medical benefit plans, and a cost share for the new higher deductible PPO plan of employee 5% and employer 95%, which will not increase the library's contributions costs when compared to the plans currently offered. In addition, we recommend that the dental plan cost share remain the same, employee 35% and employer 65%, and that the library continue to contribute 25% prorated as necessary toward the deductible into the employee's health savings account for staff participating in the HSA plan. The benefits open enrollment begins November 4th, 2019. OCRC charge filed on Thursday, August 29th, 2019. Human Resources Director Kyla Harden received an OCRC charge via email. The charge of discrimination based on race and gender was filed by former employee Vincia Browntree. A response to the charge in collaboration with attorney Matt Wagner has been prepared and submitted. United in Sharing campaign started on November 23rd and ends on October 19, 2019. As part of this campaign, we invited staff to bring in personal care items, which would be donated to Upspring, an organization providing educational and enrichment opportunities to youth experiencing homelessness. Staff participation was strong, and many bins of personal care items were collected and delivered to Offspring. Kudos to staff. Staff and retiree recognition and volunteer appreciation. This year's annual staff and retiree recognition program will take place on Sunday, November 10th, and will be preceded on the same day by our volunteer appreciation event. Both celebrations will be held at the main library.
Thank you. Do I have
You have to
a
move.
motion for the
Move,
group
I move.
benefits? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next is
Bill.
Facilities, Finance, and Audit Committee, Mr. Moran.
Okay, the committee met on September 26th, and first off, we had an update from David by phone and by video on where he was on the master plan, and I'm excited that this is coming to fruition, and it's going to be rolled out to everybody. So we have a couple of recommendations that need to be approved by the board. One is to confirm a change order not to exceed $275,000 for Geiler Company, which has been approved and submitted for confirmation. The change order is to account for abatement and demolition work that was more extensively than originally planned for the energy retrofit, and it's within the project contingencies. Also, the boilers have been delivered and are set. The piping is being installed, and we're anticipating having one of the boilers operational by the end of October. That'd be a good idea. The new handlers will be arriving by the end of October, and the work in the tower room is complete. The fire suppression installation has begun, and the work is being done in phases on the public floors, with fill-in work on non-public floors. Some preliminary electrical work has started. The new switchgear will be arriving in November, with installation follow shortly thereafter. We have need approval for revision of the estimated resources and annual appropriations. We approve salaries decrease from, this is general fund expenses, salary decreased by $250,000. Purchased and contracted services increased by $250,000. The decrease in salary is a result of position vacancies during the year, primarily in the Facilities and Human Resources Department. The increase in purchase and contracting services is a result of contracting services due to the vacancies in Facility and Accelerated Project and Human Resources.
I have a question about that. Is that going to be a permanent situation where there are vacancies? Are they going to be filled in the future?
No, they're
Well,
Okay.
they'll be filled.
They'll be
Yeah,
filled,
they've
yeah.
just been, we've saved dollars there.
Okay, this is something we have to do every year, accepting the tax levy amount and the rate. I'm not going to go through this, but you can read it at your leisure, but we need approval on it. It's something the county makes us do every year.
Go ahead.
On the Price Hill Accessibility Project, we need approved modification of the bid advertisement for Price Hill Branch Accessibility. It was approved August 13th. To change the bid opening date from Wednesday, November 6th to Tuesday, November 19th, and change the date that contract documents will be available from Friday the 18th to Thursday the 31st, and change pre-bid meeting to Thursday 24th, from Thursday, October 24th to Wednesday, November 6th. Also at Price Hill, we recently requested a perpetual non-exclusive easement for purpose of ingress and egress and building utility connection to utilities served under Purcell Avenue, which is water, storm, and sanitary. Driveway and pedestrian sidewalk. We requested this from the City of Cincinnati for the construction of the Price Hill branch. The easement process will take up to 12 months, but we will be hopeful we can work with the city to expedite it. We are modifying the bidding timetable in hopes of receiving conditional permit prior to completion of the easement process. So I recommend approval of that report.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
We need to do a roll call.
Motion is
We need to
passed.
do a roll call.
Roll call, yeah.
Okay. Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamacchia?
Aye.
Mr. Hendon?
Aye.
Mr. Moran?
Aye.
Ms. Clements?
Aye.
All right.
I move that we can have the consent items.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Do we have any public comment? No. All right, then I move that the meeting be adjourned.
Oh, hold
We
on.
have a video.
I got a video for
Well,
Mr.
but that-
Moran.
all
It's
right,
Mother,
well,
Mr. Moran
I
happiness,
was
yeah.
gonna,
Yeah, okay.
go ahead. Go
Oh, no,
ahead.
if you,
No, go ahead.
Oh, if you don't want, do you want to make it part of the minutes?
go ahead, that way it's just a celebration. Go ahead, sir, yeah.
All right, so I move that the meeting be adjourned. The next meeting is to be held December 10th, 2019 at 4:30 PM at the main library.
You don't have to move, you can just adjourn the meeting.
All right, I
The chair
adjourn the
can
meeting.
All right, one way or the other, I'm showing this video.